All right, so you wanted to understand the key findings from the Singapore Auditor General's Office report, right?
That's right.
The FY 2023-24 one.
Yep.
Well, get ready, because we're about to go deep into this, treasure trove of information.
It really is.
It covers everything from parenthood support,
Oh, yeah.
schemes, to procurement hiccups across a whole bunch of different government agencies.
Pretty much, yeah.
So to help us make sense of all of this, we've got, expert speaker here.
Happy to be here.
Who can, hopefully connect the dots.
Yes. I think this report is really insightful. It gives us a really good snapshot of the financial management practices across a wide range of entities.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking government ministries, organs of state, statutory boards, the whole shebang.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, could you just give us a quick overview
of what the ABO actually does?
Yeah. So basically, think of the ABO as like a financial watchdog. Okay.
Yep.
Their main job is to make sure that all those public funds are being used properly and responsibly.
Makes sense.
And to do that, they have, a few different types of audits that they can use.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you've got your financial statement audits.
Uh-huh.
Those are the ones that really scrutinize an entity's financial records.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have your selective audits, which kind of zero in on specific activities or operations within an entity.
Okay.
And then you've got your thematic audits, which really take a deep dive into,
like a
particular issue across, multiple entities.
Okay.
So this report we're looking at actually covers all three types.
Oh, wow.
Which means we're getting a pretty comprehensive view of those financial management practices, across the board.
That's great.
Yeah. And one of the key areas in this report was parenthood support measures.
Absolutely.
So that must be, a significant chunk of public funds.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking, schemes like the government paid leave schemes, the baby bonus scheme, which are managed by the Ministry of Social and Family Development, or MSF as they call it. Yeah. And then you've got stuff like your infant care and child care subsidies, the kindergarten fee assistance scheme. You've got your anchor and partner operator schemes. Those are all under the Early Childhood Development Agency, or ECDA.
Gotcha.
So between April 2021 and June 2023, a whopping $4.55 billion was dispersed.
Wow.
Across all these different parenthood support initiatives. Billion.
Wow.
Big money.
Yeah. So how did the ADIGO even go about assessing all of this?
Yeah. So they took, I'd say, a very systematic approach.
Okay.
They evaluated 5 key stages of, grant management.
Okay.
So you've got the design and setup of the scheme. Then there's evaluation and approval, disbursement of the grant, monitoring and review of how it's being used, and then finally, cessation of the grant.
Okay.
So quite a thorough process.
Sounds thorough.
Yeah.
So before we get into any lapses, I'm hoping there's some good news in this report.
Oh, there is. Generally.
Did they find any, strengths?
Strengths. Oh, yeah. Lots of them.
Or any good practices?
Good practices, yeah. I mean, both MSF and ECDA. A big thumbs up for having, generally sound processes and controls in place.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's reassuring.
It is, yeah.
To manage all these schemes.
Yeah. And, one of the key highlights is the level of automation they've both adopted.
Automation
for grant evaluation and approval.
Okay.
I mean, for example, MSF, they've got this thing called the Government Paid Leave Portal, and it's got all these digital features, to minimize errors. It even automatically flags potential issues like duplicate claims and things like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty smart.
So they're trying to, catch people gaming the system.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And ECDA, they've got this smart system, too.
Yeah.
It automatically recovers any over-dispersed subsidies when a child, leaves a preschool.
Oh.
So it's a pretty efficient way to make sure that the funds are being, allocated appropriately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're using technology in, a smart way to kind of...
to streamline things. And minimize errors.
Cool.
Right.
Were there any other...
Oh, yeah.
good practices?
There were quite a few, actually. What I found really impressive was their attention to detail. I mean, the report even highlights specific examples, you know?
Oh, like what?
Well, take MSF's risk-based approach to processing applications.
Okay.
They actually do, like, a 2-level review for the more complex cases.
Okay. Just to be sure, you know, that things are on the up and up.
Okay. Yeah.
And that helps them balance efficiency with, you know, proper oversight.
Yeah.
I think that's a great example. It shows their commitment to, you know,
doing things right.
to responsible financial management.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the lapses now.
Yeah. So as much as there were all these, you know, commendable practices, the audit did flag some lapses and areas for improvement across all those parenthood support schemes, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I guess for like some clarity to make it easier to, you know, digest all this.
Yeah.
Let's break down the lapses by type.
Good idea. Yeah. So the first category we can look at is lapses in procurement and contract management.
Okay.
And this wasn't just limited to one agency either.
Oh.
Yeah, we're talking examples from the National Parks Board, MOE.
The Building and Construction Authority, even Sentosa Development Corporation.
Wait, what does Sentosa have to do with
I know, right?
parenthood support?
Yeah, so good point.
Yeah.
These procurement lapses weren't directly related to the parenthood support schemes.
Okay.
Remember, this report covers a ton of different government entities.
Yeah.
So these findings, they're still important, though, because they highlight potential, you know, systemic weaknesses in financial management across different sectors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of, like, procurement issues are we talking about here?
Well, they kind of ranged in severity.
Okay.
You know, for instance, in NParks, they had some lapses in valuations and payments for, like, works orders, including, you know, payments for work that wasn't even completed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and inaccurate valuations and things like that.
So that could be quite expensive, right?
Oh, it was, yeah. The estimated overpayment to contractors was $1.93 million. Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot, and it really highlights a need for greater scrutiny and tighter controls in, you know, NParks procurement processes.
So I'm starting to see, like, how these seemingly isolated incidents can actually point to, like, a bigger issue in the system.
Oh, connected, yeah.
Did MOE have similar issues?
Yes, actually. MOE also had procurement lapses, specifically in managing, you know, school construction contracts.
Okay.
And the audit found cases where, get this, approvals for work variations were only obtained after the work. I know, right? It's like they're doing things in reverse.
Yeah.
And unsurprisingly, that resulted in overpayments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which really highlights the need for more proactive, you know, contract management.
And timely approvals.
Yeah.
Got to make sure those contractual obligations are met.
Yeah.
And that any variations are, you know, properly authorized before any work even begins.
It sounds like they were really lacking in, like, clear procedures and timely oversight.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there any other agencies that were?
Yeah. So the Building and Construction Authority, BCA, and Sentosa Development Corporation, SDC, also had procurement lapses.
What were those about?
So the BCA's lapses, they involved inadequate monitoring of a contractor who was managing Jurong Apartments as a quarantine facility, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And the SDC... They were, get this, paying for vehicle maintenance services that were never performed.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's pretty bad.
It is. Yeah. These findings, they raise concerns about, you know, the adequacy of contract management, oversight, accountability.
Across all those agencies. Across all these different agencies. Yeah. I mean, it really underscores the importance of having robust systems and procedures in place to prevent this kind of, you know, financial mismanagement.
So it's good that these lapses were discovered.
Oh, definitely.
Because now, like,
that's
the agencies can improve.
Exactly. They highlight the need for, you know, stricter procurement processes, better contract management, and just greater accountability overall to make sure, you know, that those public funds are actually being used effectively and responsibly.
I think it's good that, like, even with good intentions, lapses can happen.
Absolutely.
And we need these robust systems in place.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot.
We have.
But there's still...
Oh, there's more.
Much more to unpack in this report. I'm particularly interested in those grant management lapses.
Yes, those are important. Yeah. You mentioned, especially, with all the money involved in these parenthood support schemes.
Yeah, those are concerning, given the potential impact on families and young children.
So we'll delve deeper into those.
We will.
In the next part of our discussion.
Looking forward to it. So welcome back to our deep dive into this AGO report. Last time we were talking about those lapses in procurement and contract management across all those different agencies.
Right.
But now let's switch gears.
Okay.
And look at the grant management lapses.
Okay, yeah, especially with those parenthood...
Especially with the parenthood support
schemes, with all that money involved.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see what the audit found out about how those funds were managed. Were there any, common themes or...
Yeah, there were actually some patterns in the lapses that the AGO uncovered.
Across the different schemes, managed by both MSF and ECDA. Those included, system errors, inadequate checks and balances, and probably most concerning instances of potential abuse.
Oh, wow.
And even, possible fabrication of records.
Fabrication of records. That's pretty serious.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So maybe let's start with the potential abuse.
Okay, so...
What exactly did they find?
The AGISO's data analysis flagged 55 cases. 55 cases.
Wow.
Involving those... government-paid leave schemes where the income patterns kind of suggested possible abuse.
Like how so?
Some cases showed this suspicious spike in income right before the leave period, followed by this huge drop afterward.
Oh, so it's like they were trying to get more benefits.
Exactly, they were trying to, manipulate their income to get those maximum leave benefits.
Did the AGISO look into why those patterns were there?
Yeah. So the report doesn't really speculate on motives.
Okay.
But, these patterns definitely raise some red flags.
Yeah.
And MSF is taking it very seriously. They've actually filed police reports against 3 parents who were involved in 26.
Out of the 55.
Out of the 55 cases, totaling $690,000 in disbursements.
Okay, so they're cracking down.
Oh, yeah. They're investigating all the remaining cases. And they've already taken steps to block further claims from those employers.
That's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Taking action.
Yeah.
So besides those, potential abuse cases, did the SA find any other, issues with how MSF was managing the government-paid leave schemes and the baby bonus scheme?
So the audit also found some lapses in the grant evaluation process, leading to, disbursements even when those applicants didn't actually meet
Did qualify.
the eligibility criteria.
Like what?
Yeah, so we're talking cases where children didn't meet the age.
Oh, okay.
Or citizenship requirements, or where the parents weren't actually married.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Those seem like pretty basic things.
Yeah, you'd think they'd catch those, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised those weren't caught sooner.
Me too. It's just there were some weaknesses in their system checks, Yeah. Some were inadequate, and others weren't really working as intended.
So it's they need, a more robust system.
Yeah, they need those robust verification mechanisms and, thorough reviews to prevent these ineligible disbursements from happening.
So you mentioned possibly fabricated records.
Yeah, so that's a big one. During the audit, the AJ noticed some telltale signs of potential fabrication and backdating on 2 receipts provided by one of those baby bonus approved institutions.
Baby bonus approved institutions.
Yeah, so those are places where parents can use those child development account funds, CDA funds. To cover up improper use of the funds.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big breach of trust.
Huge breach of trust.
Yeah. So how did
So MSF?
Yeah. How did MSF respond to that?
They took immediate action, filed a police report.
Okay.
and launched an investigation into that AI.
That specific one.
That specific one.
Okay.
For potential violations of the Child Development Co-Savings Act.
That's good.
Yeah. And they also blocked that AI from processing any more CDA withdrawals while the investigation is ongoing.
Good.
Yeah.
So did the AGO find out if this was...
Yeah, that's the big question, right?
Yeah, like was it an isolated incident or...
Yeah, was it a pattern?
So the audit actually did uncover some wider concerns about MSF's oversight of those AIs.
Okay.
And CDA withdrawals.
Okay.
There are almost 5,000 AIs.
5,000.
5,000 across 9 categories.
Okay.
And it seems like MSF's monitoring systems weren't really strong enough
to keep track of,
to ensure compliance across the board.
Okay, so what kind of specific weaknesses?
Yeah, so one big issue was that they found withdrawals made at unauthorized entities. Unauthorized. The data analysis showed that there were, get this, 12,706 withdrawals.
Wow.
Totaling $1.69 million.
Okay, that's a lot.
Made at 31 entities that were either no longer registered as AIs or had never been registered in the first place.
How did that even happen?
So there were a few things going on. In some cases, it was due to delays in deactivating that baby bonus feature on those Nets terminals after the AI was deregistered or shut down.
Oh, okay.
But there were also cases where non-AIs were using the terminals of AIs that had already closed down.
So it's like a loophole.
It's a loophole. Yeah.
So it's technology glitches and also not enough monitoring.
Yeah, exactly. A perfect storm for those unauthorized withdrawals.
So what's
MSF?
What is MSF doing to
Yeah, so they've taken a few steps.
Right.
First, they've deactivated that CDA withdrawal feature for all those unauthorized entities to prevent any further, misuse.
Good.
And they're also working to improve the accuracy of their AI master list and streamline that Nets terminal deactivation process.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So are they trying to recover the $1.69 million?
Oh, yeah. They're actively trying to recover those funds. And they're planning to take action against any AIs or individuals who violated the scheme's terms and conditions.
That's good.
Yeah, got to hold people accountable. Yeah.
So besides those unauthorized withdrawals,
did
they find any other areas where
So the audit also revealed some weaknesses in their monitoring of CDA withdrawals for ineligible expenses or beneficiaries.
Okay.
For example, they found cases where CDA funds were used for preschool enrichment classes.
Which aren't covered.
Yeah. Or for beneficiaries like a child's grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Which is also not allowed.
So it seems like they need to really enforce.
They need greater clarity and enforcement of the rules. Yeah. And so what they're doing is they're requiring refunds for those ineligible withdrawals.
Good.
And they plan to investigate and potentially penalize the AIs and individuals involved. Yeah, and they're also taking steps to remind AIs about those eligibility criteria. And, emphasize the importance of proper record keeping.
Hopefully that'll help,
Hopefully that'll help.
Keep things in check.
Yeah.
Make sure the funds are being used for their intended purpose.
Yeah, for the kids.
Yeah. So before we move on to the ECDA lapses.
Let's talk about those IT controls at MSF.
What about them?
So the audit found some vulnerabilities in both the government paid leave system, GPLS, and the baby bonus online system, BBO, for instance. They found a redundant account with root privileges in the GPLS.
And what does that mean?
So that means that someone could potentially, access sensitive data or even disrupt operations. And in the BBO system, they found that privileged users had way too much access
More than they should.
More than they needed for their roles.
Okay. So that could put sensitive data at risk.
Yeah, that's a big risk. So to address that, they're implementing a few security enhancements.
Okay. Like what?
So they're assigning unique individuals to those privileged accounts.
Okay.
They're doing more thorough reviews of user activities and enhancing their audit logging capabilities.
So trying to tighten things up.
Yeah, basically trying to, minimize the risk of unauthorized access and strengthen their overall security.
Good.
Yeah. So now let's shift gears and look at ECDA.
Okay.
And those grant management lapses and that were found in their domain, starting with, the infant care and child care subsidies and that kindergarten fee assistance scheme.
So what did they find there?
So a few key issues came up. There were system errors that were impacting subsidy calculations. There were preschools that weren't complying with ECDA guidelines, especially in reporting those fee discounts. And there were significant delays in completing those audits of those preschool operators.
Okay, so let's break it down. Let's start with the system errors. How bad were they?
Yeah, so the AZO analyzed 121,276 cases that were automatically processed by ECDA's system. It's called the Center Management System, or CMS. And they found errors in 869 of them.
So not a huge percentage?
No, not a huge percentage.
But still errors.
But still errors. And they resulted in over-disbursements of $26,900 and under-disbursements of $1,300.
Okay, so even though the amounts might seem small, it's still
it still raises concern.
Yeah, is the system reliable?
Exactly. Can we trust the system? So the audit actually looked into that and found that in 45 cases, the errors stemmed from issues with the system's logic or data validation processes. But more concerningly, the system failed to detect invalid ID numbers for household members in 824 cases.
Wow. And those are used for...
Those are used for income assessments.
Yes. So that could really mess up the calculations.
Yeah, it could lead to inaccurate income assessments and then incorrect subsidy calculations.
So is ECDA doing anything about that?
Yeah, so they're enhancing their data analysis and risk assessment capabilities to proactively identify and fix those errors. And they're also strengthening their data validation processes to prevent that invalid data from even entering the system in the first place.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so hopefully that'll help. Now let's move on to those preschools that weren't complying with ECDA guidelines. Particularly with reporting those fee discounts. So ECDA guidelines say that those preschools have to report program fees net of any discounts they give.
Makes sense.
But the audit found 2 centers that didn't follow this rule for 8 children, resulting in over-disbursements of $19,400.
And get this.
What's worse?
5 of those children.
5 of those children.
Were related to staff or directors of the center.
Exactly. So it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah, it sounds a little shady.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are they trying to, get a financial advantage?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a potential conflict of interest.
So what's ECDA doing about this?
Yeah, so they're reinforcing their guidelines and emphasizing the importance of accurate reporting. And they're also strengthening their monitoring and enforcement.
To catch those who aren't.
Exactly. Yeah, they want to detect and address those instances more effectively.
Okay, so hopefully that'll deter any future.
Yeah, any attempts to exploit the system. And create a
level playing field.
Level playing field for everybody.
Okay, so let's talk about those delays.
Yes.
In completing the audits. Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, so those delays create a window of opportunity, basically, for potential financial mismanagement to go undetected. The audit found that many audits were only finalized months, even years after their due date.
Wow.
So that not only hinders, transparency and accountability, and it also raises concerns about, operators potentially overcharging or claiming ineligible expenses.
Right.
Yeah.
So what caused these delays?
So a few factors. Apparently, there were poor contract management practices.
On ECDA's part?
On ECDA's part.
Okay.
And there was just this general lack of urgency, you know? Oh, okay.
In completing those audits. For example, they often waited to evaluate all the claims from a batch of operators before processing any approvals or disbursements.
It's like a bottleneck situation.
Total bottleneck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like inefficiency.
And lack of prioritization.
Yeah. So what are they doing to fix that?
So they're implementing some process improvements.
Okay. Like what?
So they're appointing a panel of auditors to diversify their resources so they're not just relying on one firm.
Okay.
And they're setting stricter deadlines for audit completion.
Good.
And they're also enhancing those monitoring systems to track progress more closely.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, hopefully that'll help.
Hopefully speed things
up. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about those lapses in those infant care and child care subsidies and the kindergarten fee assistance scheme.
So in the final part of our discussion, we'll look at the audit's findings regarding those anchor and partner operator schemes.
Sounds good. Welcome back. We've already talked about lapses in procurement and grant management across a whole bunch of government agencies. So now let's zoom in on those anchor and partner operator schemes.
Yeah.
In the early childhood sector, you know, these schemes are really all about making preschool more affordable and accessible. Yeah. And this audit, it gives us some really valuable insights into how effective they are and where things could be improved.
So just to remind our listeners, the Anchor Operator Scheme, or AOP, provides funding to 5 large preschool operators. And then you have the Partner Operator Scheme, POP, which supports 29 smaller operators.
So smaller ones,
So what did they find out about ECDA's management of these schemes?
Not everything was rosy, unfortunately. The audit found a bunch of issues. The most common being eligible grant claims. So they found a total of $272,100.
Wow.
In over disbursements. Across both the AOP and POP grant categories.
So money that wasn't supposed to
not used as intended
be given out.
Exactly. So
what kinds of ineligible claims are we talking about?
So there were instances where our operators claimed for like staff bonuses that weren't actually
not part of the
eligible under the scheme's guidelines. Yeah. There were also cases where operators were asking for funding for like headquarters staff that didn't meet
the
qualifying criteria.
Yeah.
And then there were like preschools that claimed funding for Malay or Tamil language classes that were taught by teachers.
Who didn't have the right qualifications. Or like classes that didn't meet the funding criteria for those specific language programs.
So it sounds like a bit of both. Like misunderstanding the guidelines.
Some confusion.
And then also maybe
some stretching the rules a bit to get more money.
So what does this tell us about like the oversight of these schemes?
It really shows that ECDA needs clearer guidelines. And much more careful scrutiny of those grant applications. They need to be absolutely sure that those operators, understand the eligibility criteria. And that they've got like the systems in place to actually catch and prevent these ineligible claims.
So did the audit look into like why these ineligible claims were made?
That's a good question.
Was it just confusion? Like was it just...
Or were they being smeeker?
A misunderstanding. Or was it, intentional? The report doesn't really get into those motives. But it does say that ECDA really needs to strengthen their monitoring and verification processes.
So if they look at things more closely.
More scrutiny of the applications. And those clearer guidelines, that could help prevent both the unintentional errors and those, potential attempts to exploit the system. And what about the partner operators? Similar issues, actually. So the audit found they were also submitting ineligible claims. For example, one operator tried to get funding for a staff member whose job role had changed. But they hadn't, gotten the approval from ECDA, which resulted in like
an over disbursement
of $19,700. And then another operator, they submitted 7 claims.
7.
7.
Wow.
For staff bonus payments.
Okay.
That were ineligible.
Okay.
And that led to an overdisbursement of $3,400.
So it's important to keep communicating with ECDA to make sure.
Yeah, like any changes in staffing or job roles need to be communicated.
And approved.
And approved, just to ensure
that there's
that they're still eligible for the funding. And the audit recommended that ECDA really needs to improve their communication with the operators and also put in more robust systems to actually track staffing changes and other, relevant factors that could affect grant eligibility. They also said that regular reviews and audits would help. Mitigate that risk of ineligible claims.
So it's not enough to just
give the money.
Give the money and then wait.
And forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep it.
You got to be proactive.
Proactive, exactly.
Yeah.
Got to make sure everyone's following the rules.
Okay, so besides the ineligible claims, were there any other issues?
Well, they also found significant delays.
Oh, in processing?
In processing and dispersing the grants.
Even for the legitimate claims?
Even for legitimate claims.
Wow.
Yeah, it often took them way longer than the 45 days.
That they were supposed to.
That they had agreed to.
Yeah.
In their funding agreements.
So that could be a big problem.
Oh, yeah.
For
those smaller operators.
The smaller ones who might not have a lot of...
Might not have the cash flow.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could really hurt them.
So what caused those delays? It seems like their process was just super inefficient.
Oh.
Yeah, they would wait to evaluate all the claims from a whole batch of operators before they would approve or disperse any funds.
So if one person was late?
If one was late, everyone was late.
Yeah, that's not good.
It was a total mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are they doing to fix that?
So the audit said that they should ditch that batch processing. And move to a more continuous...
Okay, so as they come in... Process them.
Process and approve them.
Yeah.
That way, operators get their funds faster.
And it's less likely to...
Less delays.
Yeah, have those bottlenecks.
Yeah, exactly. And ECDA said that they're actually working on that, along with some other process improvements to address those concerns.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it seems like these AOP and POP schemes...
Yeah, they have good intentions.
They do.
But there's room for improvement.
So what are your, overall thoughts?
I think this audit really shows that we need to be constantly vigilant and
always improving.
Looking for ways to improve.
Yeah.
When it comes to grant management.
Grant management.
Yeah, ECDA needs to find that sweet spot, between supporting those operators and making sure that those public funds...
Are being used
properly.
Yeah.
So they need clear guidelines, open communication, and robust oversight.
To prevent
misuse,
Yeah.
And make sure these schemes are actually having the impact they're supposed to.
Yeah, so it's not just about catching the mistakes.
No, it's about
building a better system.
Yeah.
From the ground up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So key takeaways. For our list. This report, it shows how important the AGU is
in making sure...
in keeping everyone accountable.
Yeah, financially accountable.
Yeah, and promoting good governance.
Across the entire public sector.
The whole public sector. Yeah. I mean, they found lapses, but it's also a chance to learn.
To learn and grow.
Yeah. It shows that those robust systems are essential for protecting those public funds.
Yeah, and I think what's great is that, it's not just about... blaming
that's
people.
About identifying.
Yeah.
It's about finding those areas where we can improve.
Areas for improvement.
And learning from our mistakes.
And making things better.
To make things better, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really about
transparency. And oversight. Yeah, those are key.
To make sure the public resources are being used the right way.
Absolutely.
So we've seen the good, the bad, and the areas for improvement.
It needs improvement.
Yeah.
In this deep dive into Singapore's public sector audits.
Absolutely.
And there's a clear message here.
Yeah.
Robust financial management and accountability.
So important.
They really matter.
Especially
when you're dealing with
billions of dollars.
Public
funds.
That are meant to, support families and early childhood development.
Exactly.
So, listener, what do you think about the balance
Yeah, good question.
Between supporting families
and
ensuring accountability.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. Until next time on The Deep Dive.